of men, and there are people that want to be the God of men. But there's this supernatural being. But there are some that just want to lie in the name of God and say things that are not true and support people that might be close to them and not say things that are right, that are just. If you made a mistake in the past, why not state it? But you seeing the truth and not being able to speak up is oppressive in nature. As a religious leader, you should get to a point like Father Oscar Romero that is ready to die on the altar for his convictions. If things are bad, you should be able to say it. But we have oppressive leaders, religious leaders, that at some point they protested that things were bad. We thought they were the bastion of hope. But the tables are turned today and they see otherwise. But also kudos to leaders that speak truth to power, that do not say because of their own personal gains, they will not speak truth to power. Also, we must fight all sorts of oppression in our mental psyche. We must fight all sorts of oppression in our mental psyche. An oppressive mindset is a mindset that believes that things can get better. I mean, we see the elections, Some were not even willing to come out. Some came out and said, oh, let's just get on with it. Then there was oppression with ballot boxes, guns being shot here and there, all sorts of shenanigans happen. And you wonder, is that leadership? Is that what elections are supposed to be? Is that the peaceful conduct we expect? Is that the peaceful interface of ideas? But no, oppressive people. And the question is, we don't know where they want to take all of this they are amassing to. Truth is, you are not taking it anywhere. None of us is getting out of this world alive. The case of Elijah that went up in a chariot of fire, the mathematical chances that that's going to happen is not plausible now. None of us is getting out of this world alive. So that means whatever you are acquiring today, you will leave it on this earth. Why don't you stop being oppressive towards people and start to use any of the gatherings to help people? Because the truth is, you are going to leave anything you made here on this earth. None of us, I repeat, is getting out of here alive. No matter how rich, how successful, you can't buy life. When God said it's time, it is time. But also, the people must emancipate their minds from mental slavery. Your future is not the hands of any oppressor. The new Nigeria we talk about is the Nigeria where the youth understand that their future is in their hands and they're going to work to make their future a reality. It's not a future that is going to be taken away from them by some old man that enjoyed the best of Nigeria in his own generation, but today makes it worse for the generation yet to come. Today, it looks as though the last generation is better than the current generation. The oppressors are so much now that I was sitting with a couple of friends and family yesterday, and we're talking and say, what is left for this generation? The same generation that had abundance of food and scholarship, today are the ones that are killing people with hunger. And some people are saying we should thank God that the dollar has not gone up. Really? After we all talked against the devaluation of this currency, we said it was going to destroy the prospect of the people. But we have seen how far it has destroyed the prospect of the people today. Today, in the next budget cycle, Nigerians now have to brace up. The government said 1,400, but it's a lie. Because that dollar might get up to 2,000 if care is not taken. Now we're going to have a budget of 47 trillion. Please, get the phone number of your lawmakers. Call them today or send a letter to them and tell them, please, there must be no budget padding. The lawmakers must be the one that will speak in the interest of the people. Because we're having a 47 trillion budget. How are we going to navigate it? How is that going to be? What's going to be in there for the hopes and aspiration of the generation yet unborn? And please, I know it's hard work. Just like we did with the last budget, we will scrutinize this new one. I did a lot of work on the last budget in partnership with budgets, if you remember, where we scrutinized the last budget, where we did a lot of work at ensuring that all the corruption in the last budget was exposed. All the schools, for instance, like a school somewhere in Oji River that is used to siphon a lot of funds. That must not be the case in this new budget cycle. And when the budget is passed, we'll keep looking at it. All the work we did in partnership with budgets, we'll keep doing them again. Where we expose what happens with the budget. Because one of the ways the oppressors keep people in captivity is through the budgets. Because they know a lot of Nigerians are not psychologically liberated and they will not investigate what is going on in the budgets. And that's why in partnership with our friends at Budgets, we did a lot of investigation into the last budget. And we brought some things out. And I'm going to read some of them to you. We brought some things out as regards how the last budget was padded. And I'll show you. Just look at the capex of UCH. The same UCH that people protested recently, that for 17 days they had no power, was padded with 2 billion as an expenditure for projects in Ekiti, robbing the main institution of using the resource for what is most important. UCH. Can you imagine? Construction and equipping of intensive care unit and amenity center for rural farming communities of Aramoko Ekiti. And that's supposed to be part of UCH budgets. Right? The same institution didn't get the money. They said they were going to renovate the hospital. They put some money down for it. How was the money spent? Nothing. The same UCH, about a couple of weeks ago, people protested not having for 17 days. Extension and equipping of emergency clinic phase 1. Also, there's a case you can make and say, what's even the budget performance? Because we need to even look at the budget performance. You cannot deal with oppressors without having empirical facts every time. I normally say this one, and I say it for a reason. That's why I have 2 versions on this program. Today, my second take on the program, I'm going to play an interview I had with a great man, German. German ought to be a billionaire if he wanted not to say the truth, but he was an editor of Guardian and he served well. He organizes Lagos Book and Art Festival, empowering the youths. I also endow a prize for literature in honor of my parents at that festival. And he's doing quite well, over 26 years, with little or no sponsors. But they come together and they at least get things done. It happens in Freedom Park. It just ended over the weekend. So I'm going to be playing that interview for you from like the 10 o'clock hour. So you can see construction of water treatment plants, construction of an anatomy laboratory and computer studio, equipping intensive care, amenities in the jail, FYI. You can see. So that's just it. There are many like that. Many like that. You can go to budgets. Many like that. So for the young people out there, you need to be involved. You need to be able to check the budgets. You need to be able to know how budget is padded. You need to be able to ask questions on the gray areas in the budgets. There's another one that is called Gov Spent that shows you how money is being spent. You get, like when 700 million president's wife spent 700 million on foreign trips to US, UK after pledging to show good example. 700 million. $171 million. You remember the case of the Alu Dam? 171 million was paid for rehabilitation of Alu Dam in Borno in July before the eventual collapse of the dam. Was anything done and the dam collapsed? So you can see what's going on. 16.06 billion. The presidency spent 16.06 billion naira to buy foreign currencies for international trips in 1 year. 16.06 billion to buy foreign currencies for international trips in 1 year. 16.06 billion to buy foreign currencies for international trips in 1 year. $1.8 billion the ministers and agencies spend on air travel. Those are the mentions of Gov spend. The president's trips gulped 3.4 billion in 6 months. 3.4 billion. The presidency paid 10 million into private account to purchase consumables for vice president's wife. Aso Rock spent 244 million on tires. Governors spent 968 billion on entertainment. Maiduguri flood. FG paid 231 million for Alu Dam repairs in 6 years. For you to be able to fight the mindset of oppression, you must have information. There's also something called tracker. This is not about going to church to pray. Any religious leader that tells you to go and ask God in heaven for solution solutions. No, God has given you brain to think. All you need is information and strategy. And keep speaking truth to power. God will not come from heaven and liberate you from your oppressors. The day you decide to take action and call a spade and speak truth to power, that's the day your life will change. 50 million was allocated to the construction of Civic Center in Umukalika, Obinga, LGA, Biodec, Abia State. Track this project had not been done according to the king. The community is sponsoring whole structure, ongoing reconstruction of Civic Center, not the FG. We call on this implementing agency with the details of these projects. All projects, many projects left undone. Because you see, when you keep calling God, oh, God will fight for you. Yes, the Bible says you walk and you pray. God can't fight for you if you don't work. What's the work? Information, data. Because once the oppressor knows that you have information, they start to get the biggest tool in your hands in facing your oppressor, be it marital, be it governmental, be it spiritual, is information. Spiritual, knowing the scriptures, knowing your right in Christ. Marital, the day you have the information of all the oppression your spouse is creating, tell them you can't take it anymore, and you have the boldness to walk away. Governmental information. That's why every government will attack a good journalist. They will say all sorts of things. Look at Shoyompo, Sayo. He said they've tried on 3 occasions to give him 50 million to stop the story he's been doing as regards smuggling in the borders. But guess what? He kept at it. For you, your oppressor might be marital. Let's talk now. Let me tell you something. Some of you are married to somebody that I know in the next 5 years, God will give you the capacity to be able to break through. Because you still love the person now. No matter what they tell you, you still say you're going to be with them. But you need to be able to develop the courage to break through. A man or a woman that doesn't support you, that says your money is our money, but she doesn't want to support you, she doesn't want to upgrade your life, she's always taking for you and depleting you, giving you problems. Those people are oppressors in your life. And let me tell you something about these oppressors. They don't change. It's not because anybody moved them. Yorubas have been saying, what it means is that the wicked one wants to be wicked. They're just looking for excuses. It's time for you to be able to break free. I know you feel like, oh, you've invested your life in this relationship, but God will do your own. You might be married for 5 years, but you're not married to your wife. You're married to another man's wife. That's why she keeps going back to her ex. Some of you do not know, but very soon you will know that the child you have in your house is not your child. A lot of you have, I've had so many. I've not just had it. I want to start cases where I have a show here called Choices of Life on this my platform. Maybe sometimes I'll be trying to record it, where people are having issues in their lives. Choices of Life, where people are having issues in their lives. I get a lot of calls for counseling. What will I do? A lot of you now is when this jackpot is your friend and he's moving you along and you're about to go, then you discover that the DNA doesn't tally with yours. You need to be bold to cut those oppressors away, because they are oppressors in your life. Any man or woman with you that doesn't lift you up is an oppressor. And also, you be careful. And that's why you need to have fellowship with the Holy Spirit to understand discernment. But you know, it's not everything you will know. But God will help you. 0818 099 1991. 0818 099 1991. I'm going to also play some messages from Professor Lumumba. Then we're going to play the interview with German after we take a couple of calls. 0818 099 1991. A lot of you, it is the parents that gave birth to you that are your oppressors. Some of you, the parents that gave birth to you have something against you, and they won't let you grow and thrive. It might be shocking, but yes. And you see, one of the greatest words your parents will use to blackmail you is I'm your problem, but I didn't kill you all this while. They might not have killed you all this while because they might not have had the capacity to kill you. But definitely, they keep doing things to destroy you. Because somebody has not killed you doesn't mean he's not an oppressor. Hello, how are you?
Mr. Rufai Oseni.
Bless you, how are you? What's your name? Manjem?
Manjem calling from Abuja.
Great job. Have you done the outreach?
Yes, well, the development is that we're able to get all those materials. I just want to go with it because as you gave us the advice the other time, so we're able to buy this place, toiletries and all.
Good.
So, God be the glory. And what we decided that we are going to share it among email, but it might not go out, so we allocated 1 to space to like 20 email.
No problem. Just give the ones you can give, and God will put the blessing on it. So, which are you going to do the outreach?
It's going to be they said we should write a letter to the controller at St. Barbara. So they now give us next week, this week.
Oh yeah, I pray as you go, God will make His face shine over you. I will give you peace on every side. I will still keep promoting it. This is our brother Icon of Hope Foundation that's doing a great outreach out of Abuja for prisoners, and God will bless him. It is well. If you still want to support him, please call your number quickly so that people want to still support you.
Okay, 090.
Yeah.
66.
Yeah.
83.
Yeah.
36.
Yeah.
27.
God bless you, my brother. It is well. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, ma.
This is Mama Angel for you.
Mama Angel, what is wrong with your voice? Hope you are good.
It's good.
It is well, Mama Angel.
You say you touched on the topic that I used to define.
Hello, Mama Angel.
You can write your presence of Nigeria happened to be those who benefited from Nigeria when Naira was bigger than pounds.
Yes, now. Those are the oppressors of Nigeria. Yes.
When it was bigger than Europe.
Yes, those are the oppressors.
When they go to UK and get their degree before they come back, a flat was waiting for them, employment was waiting for them,
yes.
A car was waiting for them.
Yes.
They have eaten themselves, and now they have refused to let my children know what it means to be in Nigeria. It is sad. And I want to speak to all of them that are oppressors of Nigerian destiny today. I want to remind you once more what will become the end of your life. In the quietness of yourself, take yourself to the mortuary. And if you do not see whether there is a place they get to decide to bring man us to the mortuary. And I don't want you to see the kind of clothes you put on to the mortuary. But if I understand the mortuary very well, no person enter the mortuary. If that's all they carry, you say, it's close. football captain.
Yes.
That is the end of every one of us. And if you want to also know where your body will end, take another journey to the cemetery. Because until you do this, your craziness, it will stop. And I also want to remind you people, none of us use the talent want to come to this world. So this is a belief that you are privileged. It's just that, and it's an illusion.
It's an illusion, it's a fallacy. You don't have anything in this world. We're all rent seekers. We're all just renting. Yeah.
We are nothing but
Yes.
just a second in the hands of God.
That's
That
just
is giving you all the oppressors of Nigeria that you are able to see today. It's not telling you it is time for you to change. But if you do not change and you treat your last way, there is no peace in the grace. So all the oppressors of Nigeria that are looting and you don't want to stop. And you are making Nigeria to be miserable. Don't worry. Because they collect everything that they collect from our hand. Hear me when I talk and not put what I put out. Nigeria will be liberated from you people. And hear me and hear me well. And all you good people of Nigeria, it is because they are living sick of politics to this wicked people.
that's just
Because
it.
the Bible says, when the righteous move, the people rejoice. When the evil move, people are suffering. So all you good people of Nigeria, arise from your slumber.
Amen.
God 2027, if the Lord gives us life, we must take over to cancel us to evidence.
Amen. Thank you so much, my wife. Bless you. See, there is no oppressor that chooses to change. It is because the oppressed got smarter and said, I'm not going to take this anymore. If you think all the oppressive politicians are going to change in Nigeria, you're delusional. Except you get smarter by having information, developing technology in the next election, developing cameras to be able to watch and be able to see how manipulations happen and point it out in real time. That's when things are going to change. No oppressor says I'm going to. Strengthening media too, because media is key. Strengthening media too. That's why when you see that in fighting the military back in the days, there was a strong role of media. Newspapers were pervasive then. You even had the likes of Radio Kudirat. But you need, the funny thing about this country is that those that are freedom fighters of yesterday have now become the oppressors of today. So we also need to tell people that are fighting for freedom today that they must not use it as an opportunity to destroy the lives of other people. Because see, it's not all of us that are fighting for freedom that has a good mind. Some are fighting for their own selfish benefits. Human beings are selfish by nature. So what do? We need to put in checks and balances. Hello, how are you? Hello? Oh, we lost that. Yeah, hello, how are you? We need to put in checks and balances. Because all the people that are the oppressors today, in 94, 95, they were the freedom fighters. They were the civil society people. They were the ones running around. So Nigerians need to be careful. Hello, how are you?
Morning, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me clearly now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, it is different coming from here.
Great to have you. Talk to me, my brother.
Yeah, this conversation is right. The point coming very young thing we can put on. The best camera we know that we can receive are one, putting the proper education to the grassroots.
Yes.
Listen to our communities, our villages, installing, educating people to use their hand to select those that will represent them. I tell them out of this, I give it to my own local community. I'm a civil servant. I'm a security, I'm one of the security agencies. We tell them the implication of what they are doing, and what of what they do. Actually, making a public gathering, a selective enforcement period, having people to take to not even a gathering, making people to select those who are virtuous, the people who can take up their mandate, being the necessity, the intention of the people, the thing that they need, the civilization, the needs of the people from that locality, from that local government, from the region, from the state, the people that will represent them. Actually, if that person did not do well, the locality, the community, have the influence, they have the power to control that person because they don't do well. They don't do it according to what they send them to do. Actually, this is the thing that they needed. In fact, I don't really know why our people keep on receiving money, presenting, sending people that are announcing to FBI, that are announcing to DIA, and all these things to come and get their leader. And they don't need to come down their oppressor. I don't even know. If our people can do this, actually, we take it to that leadership.
Thank you so much. Education of the grass, because that's a big problem. You see, let me tell you what has happened. These political oppressors have deliberately made the people poor. It's deliberate. So that when they come to you in terms of politics or any other thing, you will have no choice but to yield to them. So how do they do it? They deliberately make you poor. They deliberately take out of your commonwealth. They deliberately make life miserable for you. They deliberately will not fix the water because they will be corrupt. Because they know if they fix the water and they fix the hospital and everything is working well, they will have nothing to campaign on that they're going to do. So they deliberately will never make all of this thing work. And when they don't make it work, you will now be the one to rely on them for solutions. You can still call us up 0818-0991-991. And this was the exact way the colonizers treated us. They will make you be the ones to look for solutions. They will strip your assets. They will strip everything from you. You will need to rely on them for solutions. Once you rely on them for solutions, it's all over. Then the next thing they will do is that they will now bring charity. They will now bring charity and tell you that they are doing you a favor. And when they bring charity, you will now think that they are the ones providing the solution. Let me tell you something. I know for a fact that they deliberately, and I've dealt with a lot of people, and they deliberately do not do those projects. Because for them as politicians, they look at the next election cycle. So if they fix that road, what are you going to campaign with? There are some projects in this country that go and check the line item of the Nigerian budget. It's been there for over 15 years. And it keeps coming back as a line item. Because people in charge would deliberately not do it. They know what they're doing. These people have orchestrated the plans of evil. They are way smarter than you. They pump their resource. They have strategists. They know the law more than you. That's why I said information and education. You see, your oppressors know every clause of the law. They are all lawyered up. Your oppressors have the capacity of the best lawyers. And everything is in their hands. They can pay for the best lawyers. They can pay for the best accountants. They have the best shell accounts. You know what they call shell accounts? Where they can't trace it to them. Europe, America, France, and everything. They will move money now, and you will struggle to know where the money was moved to. They have all the best infrastructure in place. They are wiser because they pay for people to think for them. They pay people like you and I that has gone to school to think for them. And they know how they do it. You that they've made poor already, you've gone to school. You need to pay your school bills. You need loans. You need money. You need a job. You'll be the one to plot their evil scheme. Also, they have a way in which they will make it rub off on everybody. So you that might have an innocent mind, the first thing they will do is to corrupt you. Push money into your accounts. I'll tell you a story. At a point, there was a finance minister in this country that wanted to do right. And some people deliberately pushed money into his accounts. And it became a big scandal. They said it took right. So they know all of this. And as I said, the people you are dealing with are 15 times smarter than you. You pay people to think for them. So willingly, no oppressor willingly stops oppressing. It is the day you rise up and match them toe to toe. That's it. So it's not an easy job. They know that once they use violence during an election, you will not come out. They know that's why they use violence. And they know that they can't use their own children for the violence. It's children like you that they have disenfranchised all the years. And they'll give guns to. That's what they are going to use. So they know. And they're not kidding about it. They don't care. You are the one that thinks, oh, they should care. Oh, I don't think they are deliberately doing the projects. I don't think they are deliberately making things, but it's a lie. They know. If you think that they are not deliberately ensuring that projects don't work, then you are not ready. If you think they are not deliberately making projects not work, then you are not ready. That you are not serious about. So they know what they're doing. If you think they don't know what they're doing, you're lying. They know that they need backing of religious leaders. So they know what it means to have religious leaders on their side, and they know that the Church of God needs money, or the Mosque of God needs money, or the Eriwoya, the traditional worshippers need money. So they know how to give into those causes and to have you on their side. But you see, also men of God should also be able to understand that they will stand in account for everything they do. So even if because somebody donates money to you, you can't speak truth to power, then no. So they know all of this manipulation and they know how to do it. So if you think they are not smart, you are deceiving yourself. I'll take about a call or two before we start to wrap up. 081 8099191. Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Blessed to have you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. I tried to move it. that is manifested. The 2023 election outcome could have known that some people are like this. I've had to get the team. So if people are backing, I don't have people see this thing. To me, the one talking is that he's trying to criticize the suffering against that party. He can't tell us that what the party doing is not wrong. And after all, it's not his prayer and everything. It's not his prayer. How can someone on earth say this type of record that these social people are finding able to express it? That people don't complain. That is why it's like that. You can't play. They are comfortable with their comfortable.
Thank you, all right? Thank you so much for your talk, my brother. 0818-099-1991. I'll take about a call more. I will pray I will wrap up things this Sunday. I pray it is well with you. God will bless you and keep his face over you and keep his face constantly shining over you and your family. He'll give you peace on every side. He'll magnify your dreams and he'll help you navigate through the hurdles of life in Jesus' name. Amen. So do not think these people do not know how to manipulate. They have perfected the art of doing it. It is for you now to equip yourself with a lot of information. Hello, how are you? The final call.
Hello, Dr. Rufai Oseni. How are you?
Very well, great to have you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Eddie. And I want to speak to you. First of all, you're appointed to refer here to the real founders. I just want to say that
Speak up, please.
And then number two, I also see that as unconscious incompetence. Because we actually know how to run the economy, they know how to do stuff, but they don't. I know that they're smart from your own perspective of it. I understand exactly what you're saying. It's a smart thing, not perfectly but structured. But if you go outside the country, where all the activities are in place and the work, and just decide that the other has something to campaign on that is infrastructure and activities is optimal substandard, then we are definitely uncomfortably competent. That's what I call them.
I can imagine. No, but you're correct. Because they know. You see,
Yes,
do you think they don't know why they deliberately put incompetent people there? They know.
exactly.
Because they don't want those people to be able to deliver. That's just it. I mean,
Exactly.
we had a president in this country that deliberately put people that were less than him as a successor because he didn't want them to overshadow his legacy. So they know these people are all the same. No matter the political party, APC, whatever, PDP, whatever, even some of them in the Labour Party, even some of them in NJBJ, all of them are the same. It's all that mindset for themselves alone. And except we stop it through information, like I'm doing, we're not going to move forward. We're not going to move forward. Bless you. Hello, how are you? Hello? Hello? Yes, I can hear you. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Lagos is a big city. Where are you calling from in Lagos? Go ahead. Talk to me.
Yeah, so I just want to mention what you are talking about, which is our politicians organizing prayers and letting God pray. It's very, very bad. I read something on your life. I was talking about the people. While they are going to the book, and some of the information people just like population or things. I don't want to think that someone will not have other reach or they that as well as they a lot of great places they are all planning to. So I would call it about just
I mean, don't even talk about our religious leaders. Some of them are not. They know what they are doing. Those ones even know what they are doing. They try so hard to defend what is wrong, and they feel they look somehow when they do it, but they don't know that the people can see through them.
Yeah.
A lot of them that came out to protest against Jonathan cannot protest against his government. I think they're 10 times worse than it was during Jonathan's time. So they know. I mean, they can tell that to their congregation that will suck up anything they say. They can't tell that to us. We have a liberated mind. Our Christianity does not mean we are stupid.
Yeah.
The power of God brings liberty. So we are not beholden to one religious leader somewhere that tries to gaslight people, and they act like, we don't know that they devalue the currency and exactly see all sorts. I mean, we know that and we told this government, if you remember all my analysis, we told the government that devaluing this currency is going to hurt the economy. We said it. So we know that this was going to happen. So let them keep gaslighting their followers and their listeners, not us. It is well. Bless you, my brother. I'm not here to be popular. I don't want to be popular. It will be on record I spoke the truth. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to come to tell you I'm a saint or anything. No. But what is right, what is just in my capacity, I'll keep fighting for it. And what is just based on my convictions, I'll keep fighting for it. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to tell you that, I'm this and all of that. No. What is just, I would never support what is not just. What is evil, what is not right, I'll never support it. And that's just me for you. So it's not a popularity contest. Life is not a popularity contest. Life is fleeting. The most popular people today will not be popular tomorrow. That's how life is wired. If they ask you the people that were most popular in the 1800s, you might not remember all of them today. The best people remember you when you're gone is maybe 10, 20 years, if you are lucky. And in fact, most of the people that knew about you are long gone. Your memory is forgotten forever. At some point, will be forgotten. Rufai, will be sad at some point. But what will be on record is what I stood for. That's just it. I will be sad. All of us will be sad. Nobody's living here alive. So we better get to it and get to saying the truth and all of that. Just to also inform you, please go out there. You got the number of Manjan from Asinka. Try to support his outreach. We were also having another outreach in Odogudo on the 14th of December, where we're giving, items to people, medical tests and all of that, just to also help people. We keep doing this out there. And yet next year, also at the Resurgimento at the City Center, we plan to do debates and all of that and get more platforms to be able to reach out to more people and help them in their lives. I mean, that's the essence of life. Do the best you can for people. We can't all solve it. I'm not delusional to think I can solve all the problems. But I'm just going to try my own little part to see the very best I can do for people. I'm not anybody's hero. I'm not your hero. I'm not your savior. God is your savior. God is your hero. He created you. I'm not your God. I can just do my best for you. I'm as human as they come. But at my best, I will do it to the best of my ability. And because I know God will judge me for whatever I do. That's my life and that's my ethics. So I don't come and form hero mentality. I'm not your hero. I'm not your savior. I'm just a bloody guy that comes on television or on radio to talk, that speaks the truth to power based on his conviction. There's nothing special about me, but I just do the things I do because those are my convictions, and I know I'm accountable to my God. God bless you.
On the street,
we go to bed empty hunger.
To the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger.
To the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger.
To the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to
There was a time that we went to meet with a particular company. I don't want to mention it. And the person said, but you guys are always abusing people. When you know Mr. Chenya, his pen is very pathetic. And in my own life too, as an editor at the mass writer is done. I think I offended quite a lot of people. That when you go to meet them, they say, if you don't, it's either they say you don't need money or you're always abusing. Why should we sponsor you? But we're also lucky with support of Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas. They do this because they are our partners on another project, Nigeria Prize for Literature. So every December, every November, always also give support. So that's the way we've been running. We never been lucky with copy. Some of them that I know, we have some friends. Some of them are former staff who now work, former colleague in the media, who now work in corporate affairs. When you go to them, maybe they don't see us as serious but I know that what we do is very important. Because if you have trained quite a lot of people and you've been part of it, so many people running festival now started on Labour. But we don't do the paparazzi, but we believe that festival should be open air. Somebody say maybe if you move into a hotel or any cozy place. No, Labour was created as an open air. The idea was that when we were coming to democracy in 1999, we said, and Achebe was coming back after his accident. He had an accident in 1991. We wrote to the government that we wanted to be doing national creativity. And we permitted on the fact that if Achebe, father of contemporary Nigerian novel, is returning from abroad after almost 9 years of living abroad on wheelchair, you know that the only way you can reintroduce Achebe to young Nigeria, we are passionate about young Nigeria. The only way you can reintroduce him is to create a festival, a project around him that young people will see themselves reflected. Achebe wrote his first novel before he was 26. Things fall apart. Shoyinka wrote his one before he was 26. J.P. Clark, Christopher Kigbo, mention them. They were young people. They were saying if you create a festival around you, you have more value. So that politicians don't hijack it. That's why we wrote to the government. They did the first one and they never did it again. So we took it up ourselves. So the whole idea of Labour is to return art to the open space where everybody, every one of us, my age at least, the only place we encountered art was in the marketplace, or in the market square, or in the public square, or on the street. You know, our streets in Africa, they are site of performances. Everything that's happening is a site of performance in Africa. So we thought we should be doing it open. That's where we do Freedom Park. We could have gone to more exotic. Maybe if you wrote a proposal to somebody and you say the coach will charge us so amount of money, maybe they will put money there. But we insisted on being in Freedom Park. We don't hope that Freedom Park continue to play its own role. For instance, we've been running here now, there's no light. We've been running on generator. 24 hours running on generator. Costs almost about 120,000 every day to run generator. That's why we move everything outside. We couldn't use the hall because yesterday when we put on the gen, we had problem. So I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So it's well, we continue to run our Lagos Book and Art Festival. It's a 7-day program, and we have 62 events. And I think it's the only festival that straddles every discipline of the art. Mention it, please. Mention literature, visual arts, theater, music, fashion. Everything is included there. Art fair where people can display whatever they are producing. Because we believe that creativity is what will save this nation. We've been talking about this before government even talked about creative economy, which for me still has no direction. I don't know what they want to do with it because you don't go beyond the hip hop, Afrobeat musician, Nollywood, and fashion.
So is it because you think these corporate companies are not interested in the arts? Because we've discovered a lot of great talent at the Lagos Book and Art Festival and Ancora for relevant action funded in 1991. Is it because they are not interested in the art or what is it? And for a festival like this, what are the cost implications and what can people, even foreign partners, because I know we're in front of Oral Lifeline, which was made possible by foreign partners, pretty much. So what can we do?
It is not that the corporate organizations are not interested. It is the Yoruba program. I'm sorry, I have to speak Yoruba. Amukun Eruewo. That means the load you are carrying on your Amukun is the man with the knock knee. Say Eruewo. that if my load is not balanced on my head, because my leg is knocked, did not take creativity serious, cannot produce corporate Nigeria that will respect the art. I boast to people that under Ford Foundation, I went to the US. They sent me to the US. And one thing that I discovered, they are what they call American for the Arts. In fact, they were called American Arts Academy, but they prefer to call themselves American for the Arts, headed by a lawyer. And what he told me was that, look, they decided that we may have Wall Street, have all these businesses, but like what brings everybody together is that concert. That all of us eventually we troop into a concert and watch it. That's the leveler. That in the concert, a poor man, rich man is the same. In visual art, in book, the book you read, nobody wants to know whether you're a rich man. You read that book. So art is a leveler. So he said they decided to form this so that they could provide a leveling ground for everybody. That even your janitor, in fact, the man mentioned, he said, this janitor that you see, he was the president of AA. So this janitor that you see, they were meeting in a concert hall tonight. The man, he said, he bought tickets for all of them. They are coming with his family. Any society that does not take that serious, it's in the same trajectory of technology transfer. I wanted to transfer technology when we have not transferred intelligence. What art does to the society is that it caters to the spiritual interests of people, not spiritual in the name of church or mosque or so. Spiritual in the sense that it is the only thing that comes to your soul. When you hear music, it goes straight into your soul. When you watch a play, it goes to your soul. When you read a book, it goes to your soul. It is the spiritual essence of life that art caters for, and society does not seem to care. So when that is not realized, there's no way that corporate Nigeria will be interested. Let me tell you something that I've always mentioned. I'm almost called Mr. Cultural Policy. The first report I wrote as a journalist in 1987 was Nigeria Cultural Policy. My boss then, Benton Lojo, I just joined the Guardian. He said I should go sit down in their workshop, and this opened my eyes to a lot of things where people were saying how science, technology, that there's nothing. Agriculture comes from the art, because you must think it, you must write it down, you must conceive it, and so. So they were saying that okay, through this cultural policy, not every art can be sold. Art and mercantilism, they don't go. Well, maybe the musicians are doing it, but you don't go together. But go and artist first of all want to create before you can sell. Okay. So they said, look, we have to cater for the art. Not every art can be sold. So there will be artists who cannot. Imagine an artist who does an installation. Who is going to buy an installation and put in his house? No. Or who is singing? Music is coming into his head. I already referred to this guy called Brahmo. I think he's one of the most brilliant musicians that we have. But he will not make commercial break. How do you help such an artist? Because I've walked outside of this place. I've done it in Sweden, I've done Germany. I know what it means. They create platform for this kind of artists to be able to get money. To get money from the system. It is this money that then you use to produce your work. And how does it work? There's what they call the National Endowment Fund for the Arts. The endowment is what runs the American system. You remember Obama, when they wanted to stop during that economic problem, he said, you can cut everything, not the money for the arts. It has happened in Britain before. A new government came in, I think it was Labour, no, the Conservatives came in again after Labour, and they wanted to stop. He said, no, please do not do that. That art is what we first of all need. And then for a society that is this challenged, look, there's no industry in Nigeria. Maybe church. Because name the industry. I think you say it almost every time on your program. Yeah. There's no industry. Maybe only church. So the only industry that has engaged everybody is the art. I tell people, if you go to Bariga now, the volume of artists that have come, they are performing tonight at this festival. The volume of artists that have come from Bariga, or from Ajegunle, Galala, all those music, that the Shoki group and all of that. Look, if you map, I can map Lagos for you, and you see how the art is what is running. Look at the Ikorodu boys. Look at the Ikorodu boys. You can say they are non-entities, but just put the art there, and you see all of them will come to life. That's what we tell Lagos State government. At December now, they will pack millions of naira. You say they are doing one night of music. And that's the end. That money, if they give me that money, I will run almost a year-round festival in this Lagos. We used to have what we call the Lagos Festival of Arts and Culture, run by Benga Shunulu. This man will organize competition all over the state, and all of them will come to the center. I don't know why the governor is not saying it. I don't even want to talk about Nigeria. They are not saying it. Look at the state of our cultural establishment. They are so decrepit that even when they offered me to come and take, I said, no, I don't work where there's failure. I'd rather be doing the little thing I'm doing now and make my little impact with the 100 people that I can influence and let it go. Then when they want to spend money, they look for celebrity, pictures. The same set of people will be invited over and over and over again to come and discuss with the minister. The minister sit down in Abuja. She's not really had anything to do with anybody.
Why is Musawa not in this event, for instance?
No, we don't even do government anymore. I can tell you, if I have grey hair, it was because chasing. There was one governor. We produced an award. I was even on first name speaking time. Probably older than or older than. I said, we're waiting for you. The children are waiting to receive you. I don't told you about what we want to do on Friday or Saturday. He told me, he said, so sorry, I'm already at the airport. I'm traveling now. Man, a lot of young people were here. I now look like a stupid man who told lies to these 400 children who were waiting for this man to come. He told me, I'm on my way to the... First of all, they didn't pick up from money tonight. I said, I'm on my way. I said, the award is still in my office. So don't give him. So we don't invite them, but then they also partner with us by bringing children.
How do you do it over the years that you bring children from schools and all of that to rekindle the art spirit in different performances? I mean, I am also glad that I am part of this. I endow a little.
There's a Rufai Oseni. No, it's not called Rufai Oseni. Name after your father. Yes. Thank you very much for that.
But how do you do that? You bring children. Nobody will have thought that this is where the corporate should be able to come and catch the children young and help them with the art.
No, but if you check, children program is what corporate Nigeria does not sponsor. Please tell me one that corporate Nigeria is sponsoring. They don't. No. Why? Maybe they will give you noodles. You know this weaponized poverty. This who was it? Mary, your colleague on Arise.
Yeah.
I think there was an expression she used, something about palliative. You know, we believe in all these tokenism. Rice economy. They will go when the children write to them. When people do children program, we have one that's running for 18 years, Green Festival here. When they write to them, say, look, come and sponsor us. They say, we come and give you noodles. You weaponize poverty. You telling these kids that all is important to them is noodles. How can you do that to your own young people? So they grow up to be noodles eater or noodle producer. Do you know that in this festival this year, last year we had 26 young authors, kid writers. This year, I think we're already counting 32, although I've disqualified 2 of them. Kid authors who just got inspired by what we do here and then they write. And they become authors on their own. We have people who rose through our stage here. Do you know Amaka Igwe?
Yeah.
May God bless her soul. Amaka Igwe.
Yeah.
They brought her daughter here. The girls saw what they were doing. Say, Mommy, do you know I've been writing a book? The mommy did not know because she said she was too busy directing her own project. Do you know the following year, this girl published, I think she has a PhD now. She grew up on this stage. I don't people don't give us credit. We know people who started their career on our stage here, who read they're running their own festival now.
And they're celebrities.
They're running their own festival now.
And
we're happy.
They got inspired from seeing Labaf run.
And we told them, look, our own joy. We said we're planters. Ideas planter. We're planting and we plant ideas in your head so that you go and do your own. So we're happy that now we have almost, I think I can count over 20 book festivals that were going. When we came in 1999, there were only 2. Synergy Educational Publishing Fair and Anna. Okay, right now we have over 20. I'm not saying that we were the one who do, but I'm sure that we triggered it. Because we see a lot of young people on them came from us. The publishing industry is thriving. Other industry around the art is thriving. That's what we want. We want festival to be on every street of Nigeria.
Why is Musawa the art tourism minister? Not in
I can tell you that we didn't invite her. But if you invite them, government, you have to wait for them. I won't start my program on time. then they want to adjust my program. No, you cannot adjust my content. I can compromise if you say, look, you like our director or whatever to speak. But I can tell you, Nigerian Copyright Commission, to tell you that the mentality of the person with the Nigerian Copyright Commission, they will do t-shirts, they will come here, they will come instead of making statements, they will come and advertise to display their book. See back, even when they were still at national, they will come here, National Gallery of Art. So it depends on who is the head of the institution. But if government does not gazette it, and the gazetting is that there must be a policy. Okay. Now, right now, they are working on a policy, so I hope you see the light of the day.
Mr. German, because this is also a sponsorship drive. I'm the one is watching via my Facebook platform. Can you give us a number people can call if they want, even if it's 100, 200, 500,000 to support this ongoing festival? Because tomorrow now we are showing the film as made. We have program for schools, we have cultural day for youth, secondary schools where they get that. And these are the things that also help you to keep crime out. So if there's a number people can call.
I want to quickly put the number of one of our coordinators. Yeah. Because she's easily reachable. She's Oyinda Mola. And she's 070
070
662
662
64 855.
855.
If they reach out to this young woman, okay, 070 662 64 855. She's a young person who grew up with us as students.
So that's how, if you want to call Oyinda Mola on that number, if you want to support and sponsor, even if it's a prize for one kid in a school at the Lagos Book and Art Festival.
Just as you have done.
You get, just like I have done.
Yeah, just like even before you started the Odogbodu Library.
Yeah.
I'm here to visit.
Yeah.
And also, you can also write email to us at corallabaf@gmail.com.
corallabaf@gmail.com. Let's call the number of the lady.
I may sound aggressive, but we also beggars.
Yes,
but we have people who support us. So we have the Kuramo, Mr. Misha Shore. People chipping money. We have friends who chip in money here and there, and they just say, look, we just want to supply. Somebody gave us 50 cartons of water. He didn't have to do it. And that's what I'm putting in there. People give us stuff to be able to help us to.
The number was again. You get the rich.
Just put it up now. Let me look for it. Okay. Oyinda Mola 070 662 64 855. And they can also reach us at our IG, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just at Labaf1. At Labaf1.
LABAF1. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Peace is at the very heart of human development. Peace I bring you, the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. That statement attributed to Jesus Christ is not only known to him. I can refer to many religions, both within and without Africa, that talk about peace. Peacemakers and peacemaking is critical because we recognize that without peace, without tranquility, you cannot realize your potential. And African communities, like other communities, have always had means of mediating conflict. Because conflict is part and parcel of human engagement, part and parcel of society. And it is therefore important to reiterate that peacemaking is an exercise that must never be poo-pooed, it must never be abandoned. Of course, peacemaking is not always successful, but history has also taught us that all conflicts throughout the ages always end with peace. So you choose either to engage in war and suffer the pain, then make peace, or make peace in order to avoid war. The choice is ours. Let us ask ourselves how the UN came about, because that is important. After the European tribal wars, which were normally referred to as the World War, the first European tribal wars, which was 1914 to 1918, we created the League of Nations. And the whole idea was to create a multinational body which would ensure that there would be no war of that magnitude, of the magnitude that was seen in Europe between 1914 and 1918. But as you and me know, there was another war from 1939 to 1945. Another war came, and the international community, as then constituted, took the view that the World War II, or the European Tribal War, the Second European Tribal Wars, was the war that would end all wars. That is how they sat down in 1945 in San Francisco in the United States of America and came up with the UN, complete with what are called chapter 7 that deals with peace and security. 3 years later in Paris in 1948, there was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And this is the period when you begin to see the decolonization culminating in the independence of India in 1947-48. And in 1949, the international community once again sat down in Geneva to come up with the 4 Geneva Conventions dealing with war. So you can see that the UN, the motivation behind the creation of the UN was to ensure that there is a body that can work towards ensuring that there is sustainable peace, and also to ensure that if there is conflict, there would be an international intervention which would enforce peace or create peace. The truth and the reality is that has not always happened. Because no sooner had the World War ended than we saw the Korean Wars in 1953, and a series of other conflicts that then took place. We see after India regains independence, we see the breakaway with Pakistan in 1971. We see the breakaway with the Bangladesh. We see what happens in Indonesia with the East Timor, and in Africa we see what happened in Congo in 1961 after the assassination of Patrice Emery Lumumba, and the UN is invited. We see the invitation of the UN after the civil war in Nigeria. We see the entry of the UN in different settings. And there are cases where the UN peace missions have contributed positively, but there are cases where they have not contributed as they ought to have, and they have been accused. In the Rwanda situation during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis, the UN missions were there. We have seen the UN missions in Congo being accused of smuggling. We have seen the UN mission in Burkina Faso, and right now we have seen the Mali government say that they do not want the UN peacekeeping forces. So it has been a mixed kind of situation with the UN forces. Remember that the UN does not have a standing force of its own. It is the members that contribute the forces for purposes of peace in Somalia, in different places. So there is a case to say that you need a multinational force operating under the aegis of the United Nations or under the aegis of the African Union for purposes of ensuring that there is a neutrality in the enforcement of peace. But as I've already indicated, it is not always the case that they fulfill their mandate without causing trouble or without one side or the other being dissatisfied with the manner of the execution of that mandate. If you look at the situation in Mali, for example, the reason why the UN was asked to go into Mali is because of the insurgency against the Bamako government. And it is true that the insurgency, which is an insurgency informed by bodies such as Al-Qaeda and the Sahelian Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram, the idea was to seize Mali and convert it into an Islamic state. The same thing you see in Central African Republic, where they have such a situation. The same thing in Burkina Faso. The same thing in Chad and Niger. So that in the Sahelian region, what has happened is that terrorist groups claiming to act under the force of religion, saying that we do not want Western education. In fact, what Boko Haram means, simply that the book is illegitimate. The book is haram. And therefore they want to institute a caliphate in those areas. And this is what is called the unrolling of the carpet, what is the Islamization, and we seldom say the Arabization of the entire part of Africa. And when they get into that space, they overwhelm armies. And therefore, when peace is negotiated, you need a body that is going to mediate. Hence, what I've said, as I've said in Mali and Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, and such situations. In Sudan, as we know it today, of course, we did not have a force even after, but there was some kind of UN presence in the Darfur region. And once again, the mandate is what defined how they behave and what kind of force they use. If it is a peacekeeping force, then the amount of deadly force that they can use is only to defend themselves. If they are brought in for purposes of enforcing peace, then the amount of violence that they can use or force that they can use is also determined. So the mandate of these forces are always very clearly spelled out. And we've seen them fail monumentally and dramatically. If you look at the situation in Eastern Congo, where they have been there for over 10 years, MONUSCO, I think, and they are not doing very well because they are individual, they get integrated into the conflicts there, they become part of the smuggling rings, and they are no longer useful either to the country that called them or the mandate that they were called to enforce disappeared. And if you look historically, in 1961, when there was an uprising against the Lumumba government, instigated, as we now know, by the Belgians and the Americans, Lumumba did call the UN force. And in fact, the then Secretary General of the UN, Dag Hammarskjöld, perished when he was on his way to Congo. He himself was very traumatized by the activities in that area. So the UN is a body that we now know needs reform in order to revise its mandate and efficacy of the institutions which operate under its authority. It depends. There have been circumstances where African countries have resolved their problems. And it's not only African. We remember that at one time, there were major problems in Latin America. In Nicaragua, in Colombia, in Brazil, in Argentina. So it is not true that these problems only happen in Africa. In Asia, we remember the problems, as we know, as I've already indicated, in Bangladesh, in Myanmar, in Vietnam, in Colombia, rather in places such as Cambodia and Laos. They have been there. In Asia, we have seen the problems of Korea. But within the continent of Africa, we have had conflicts which have been resolved internally. When there were problems in Sierra Leone and in Liberia, it is the ECOMOG force which was created under the auspices of ECOWAS and led by Nigeria that resolved the problems. So ECOMOG was there. We did not ask the UN to come in. So that was the situation. Much more recently, in the same region, when the president of Liberia or the president of the Gambia did not want to leave office, Yahya Jammeh, once again, it is ECOMOG that resolved that particular problem. We also know that when there was a conflict in the Congo several years ago, it is SADC which was involved in that particular conflict resolution. And we also saw that we have had forces in Southern Sudan which also resolved the problem. So there have been cases when African countries working in unison have resolved their problems, and it is only when they cannot do it because of finances that they have invited the United Nations. And even when they invite the United Nations, you know, that is African forces that are involved. For example, in Somalia, it is the Burundi forces that are involved, it's the Ugandan forces that are involved, it's the Kenyan forces that are involved. It's not as if you have forces from outside who are involved. They may provide financial and logistical support, but the forces are uniquely African. You must know that conflict is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. In Eastern Congo, there are estimates which now tell us that there could be over 120 organized armed groups. And when they are organized in that way, they are involved in illicit minings. They are involved in activities which interest gun runners. There is no factory for making guns in the Congo. There is no factory for making bullets in the Congo. So there are people from different parts of the world who want that situation, because in a war situation, you need medicine. You need food. You need water. So the truth is, there are many hidden hands which are involved in perpetuating this conflict situation. Even the UN itself finds itself helpless in the face of this situation. How is it that conflicts cannot end in Libya? How is it that conflicts cannot end in Syria? How is it that conflicts cannot end in the Democratic Republic of Congo? How is it that we have conflicts in the Sahelian region? They are hidden hands, sometimes manipulating and working with local hands. So it is true, there is interference. Because Africa sometimes is a political chessboard and a theater for domination by other world powers. We can learn from those missions that when you listen to governments and when you involve the people and you are sensitive to the realities on the ground, then you will be successful. Because sustainable peace not only requires but demands that you understand the population in which you are operating. And if you go into an arena and you are neutral and non-aligned, then there will be success. But if you want to play politics, as we saw with the UN mission in Rwanda, then you will fail. But if you know that your mandate is that of preserving peace or enforcing peace, then you will always succeed. There is only one lesson to be learned. Fulfill your mandate. Don't be swayed by temporal politics or partisan politics. I am of the view, and I may be wrong, that if the Russian-Ukrainian conflict were to be left to the Russians and Ukrainians, it would not have taken more than 2 months. I believe they would have negotiated, and I believe that the war would have ended somehow. But immediately NATO came into the arena. Immediately, the war machine and war industry in Europe and America entered into the arena and are supplying war equipment, aircraft, missiles, and bullets. Then it became an industry. And I would want to see the profits that have been made by the companies that manufacture arms in Europe and America after this war. I think their profits must have jumped by several percentage points. Just the supply of equipment and other logistical support is in the millions. Because all these monies and all these things that are being supplied to Ukraine, they'll pay for them. When the time for reparation comes, when there is something in the equivalent of a Marshall Plan to rebuild Ukraine, people are going to make money in the billions. And remember that Ukraine is now a theater of war for Western arms manufacturing companies to also test their equipment. They are testing. Now they are taking the cluster bomb, which have not been used in war for a long time. They now want to see what developments have been made and how they work in a real war situation. These are malevolent individuals who are perpetuating this war. So it is true to say that there is big business that is playing out in Ukraine. You know, the year 2021, I think, was the year of silencing the guns in Africa. It came, the guns were not silenced. And in my view, one of the things that Africa should do as Africa is to say no military bases by any foreign power in the continent of Africa. Not an American military base, not a Japanese military base, not a Russian military base, not a Chinese military base, because once you allow those bases to come into your neighborhood, you now become participants in any conflict that arises between or amongst those powers. You go to Djibouti and you see what is happening there. It is a theater, is a place where all these military bases, Japanese, everybody, the ones that I've mentioned. So in order to have peace, under the aegis of the African Union, Africans must make a resolution, no military bases. And once they agree that they have no military bases, then you have collaboration and cooperation. And they must say no more Africans are going to be trained in West Point or Sandhurst or going to be trained outside of the continent. We train ourselves, have our military, which is informed by the African reality for purpose of defense. That is the only thing that is going to guarantee. And in order to do that, one of the things that African countries must do is to resolve the outstanding conflicts and look to the root of those conflicts. If you go to Ethiopia, we must ask ourselves why the Tigray are dissatisfied, why the Oromo are not happy, why the Amhara are not happy, why the Somalis are not happy. When we go to Cameroon, we've got to ask ourselves why the Ambazonians are not happy. When we go to Central Africa, the same. When we go to Congo, the same. When we go to Mali, when we go to Namibia, the same. When we go to Zimbabwe, the same. When we go to Somalia, the same. And once in Sudan, the same. South Sudan, the same. And we come to the table and resolve those conflicts. And once we resolve them, then we go into the second phase of ensuring that as and when conflicts emerge, we very quickly move in to mediate them. One of the things that we must not do in the face of the many conflicts is to play the ostrich by burying our heads into the sand and believe and behave as if those conflicts will resolve themselves. They must be resolved by us. And as long as they are not resolved by us and we allow other hands and other people to resolve them, then we'll be perennially weak. I was myself very dissatisfied recently when I saw that it is the Saudi government and the American governments in Jeddah that are talking about resolving the conflict in Sudan at a time when we have an African Union. And when I see that the IGAD proposal for peace is being rejected, in my view, it is very unfortunate. And we ought to ask ourselves very quickly what it is that we can do for purposes of ensuring that we are participating in resolving this conflict within the continent of Africa by ourselves, and we can. You know, the European NGOs and the American NGOs are part of the problem. Some of them thrive in conflict situations, so they don't want war to end. What will happen if war ends? And some of them are also used as spy agencies. They get into communities and they disempower communities. This idea that you have somebody who tells you that they are going to feed you and supply you with energy biscuits and to supply with water and all these other things for the rest of your life is disempowering. Some of these organizations were created for purposes of dealing in emergency situations, and what is emergency has now become permanent. One of the things that we must do is to begin to have these organizations disengage. That is not to say that some of them have not done a good job. There are some which, in my view, over the years have done a good job, but they must have an exit plan. They must have a plan which ensures that during the period that they are in different countries in the continent of Africa, they empower local agencies. But they do not do that. What they do is that they come into the communities and they drive all these four wheels. As a friend of mine once said, that in certain parts of Africa, you find NGO V8 cars, and if they are fighting malaria, the cars are more than the mosquitoes. Of course, that was said in jest, but it is a statement of how then poverty becomes an industry and conflict becomes an industry. And once it becomes an industry, people don't want the industry to end. It is our duty to say, exit plan. The Eritreans have dealt with such NGOs a little bit firmly. Some would say a little bit unreasonably, but there is something to borrow from the Eritreans on how to deal with these bodies so that they don't become a permanent fixture in our affairs. My thoughts are that there is no one size fits all. I believe that every country, as informed by the realities in the country, must deal with these bodies in the manner that is in the best interest of those countries. That is my reaction number one. My reaction number two, which is much more overarching, is that we should not allow our domestic problems to be resolved by outsiders. Really, the fact that you have external bodies that are created by other governments or by people in other countries resolving your domestic problems is in itself something that is undesirable. And it ought to happen only as a way of dealing with an emergency situation. It's as if your house is on fire. You don't need the firefighters to be a resident in your room, to occupy a room in your house. Once they have put off the fire, let them go back to the fire station. But we have firefighters who now say they want a bedroom in your house because they fear that fire can arise at any time. I don't think that that is the way to deal with it. We've got to resolve it differently. And the sooner we do, the better. Africa can do better, should have done better, but continues to punch below our weight. And when I look at our circumstances, the truth is we have been our own best helpers. All these things you see in terms of aid and other things, if you look at them keenly, they don't contribute more than 30% to the things that drive Africa. And Africa is largely rural. And in rural Africa, the women particularly are involved in production and feeding their families. They have no connection to the banks. They have no connection to foreign powers. The truth is, 70% in our own way, we are supporting our affairs. But the other parts of the world, particularly Europeans and Americans, if they give you $1, you think they've given you $1 million. They shout about it. They give you a bag of maize which bears their name. It is like giving somebody a gift of a shirt and they write in the breast pocket of the shirt, this shirt was donated to you. Surely, these givers who humiliate the receivers, they are not the ones that we want. My answer is, we are solving more than 70% of our problems. Those who help us, 30%, make so much noise that you'd think that if it were not for them, we would be dead and gone. That is not the truth. You know, you never know the instructions that the personnel in these NGOs have. And I want to believe, and I may be wrong, that many of these NGOs are also conduits for agencies, spy agencies from their country, and that they report directly on a daily basis. Sometimes they may not even know, but when they file their reports about situations in the countries in which they are resident, that is used as raw material for intelligence. That is why they are funded. That is why they are enabled. That is why people contribute to them and they are tax exempt. So they are not innocent. These are Trojan horses, some of them, and they are used quite effectively. Every country does regulate. In Kenya, you'll find there is the NGO Bureau, and in many other countries, they are regulated. But the regulation that is in many African countries is very weak because we need the money, and well, we think we need the money. We just slap them on the wrist. They come and they settle and they have status. Some of them even enjoy diplomatic status. That is how powerful they are, because the countries from which they come are powerful. The countries from which they come are so-called donors or development partners or whatever you want to call them, as they keep on changing their names. But really, they may change the name, but the intention and the agenda remains one: to control, to disempower, under the guise of supporting and helping. How do you close your factory? Kibera is a factory for NGOs. So on a single item, and I say this from a point of knowledge, on a single item like the provision of clean water and sanitation, there are hundreds of NGOs that have been active in Kibera for the last 20 years. And yet when you go to Kibera, you still see water which is not potable being carried in jerrycans. Why? Because they don't want to solve the problem. They don't want to solve the problem, because if you solve the problem, then you lose a job. That is how you must see these. And we must have time and a timetable for them. I think President Paul Kagame of Rwanda does it very well. He actually wants to know what you are doing and when you are leaving, because you ought not to be permanent in that area. But we have been lulled into a false sense of security by these NGOs. They come and say, we are giving you water, we sink this borehole, we have this school feeding program, and they keep on feeding you, and they tell you not to feed yourself, so you forget how to seek food. You rely on donor aid, and you remain a child for life. You remain a beggar for life. You remain an object of pity for life. You remain a person whose esteem has been destroyed for life. You remain fodder for life. You are dehumanized for life. You are humiliated for life. Sad. Governments, African governments must play their role. We have played the blame game for too long. We must also say that the reason why those NGOs are in our countries is because our governments have failed. Governments are instituted amongst men and in countries for purposes of using taxes to resolve those problems. But what do we have in many African governments? Thieves, who when they are made to preside over health services, they steal the money. When they are made to preside over roads, they steal the money. When they are made to preside over schools, they steal the money. If you look at some of the richest men and women in Africa, they are to be found in governments. The poorly paid civil servants in Africa are paradoxically the richest. And what do? The money that is meant for water, the money that is meant for health, for education, they steal it and build hotels. Hotels have now become their favorite. And if they don't build hotels, they are building apartments. And if they don't build apartments, they are keeping the money in Panama. And now they are beginning to keep it in Mauritius and the Cayman Islands and Guernsey Island. Governments in Africa are underperforming. And therefore, these NGOs are filling that void. And we must, as a people, make demands of our government. Our threshold of satisfaction as a people in Africa is very low. We don't make demands of those whom we elect into government, and they have great contempt for us. And that is the problem. If African governments were to do things properly, you would not need NGOs. And there are countries where they are doing things properly. If you go to Mauritius, things are being done properly. If you go to Seychelles, things are being done properly. If you go to Botswana, things are being done properly. You go to Rwanda, things are being done properly. If you go to Tanzania, they are beginning to do things properly. If you go to Uganda, certain things are being done properly. When I was growing up in Nairobi, things were being done properly. Garbage was collected 3 times a day. There were hot lunch in Nairobi. There was free education, free indeed, with exercise books and textbooks being supplied. There was medicine in our dispensaries and in all other places, then we lost the script, then we dropped the baton, and we started electing a bunch of thieves into public office. And we have never recovered because we ran kleptocracies masquerading as democracies. We are part of the problem, we the people. Democracy requires that the people themselves are eternally vigilant. It is we who elect those individuals. If you allow yourselves to be persuaded by individuals to elect them because of your ethnic affiliation or because they have corrupted you, then you are making the mistake. If you go to countries where people make demands of their leaders, things are being delivered. You go to the Scandinavian country, you go to Norway, you go to Denmark, you go to Finland, you go to Sweden and see how things are working. Because if you joke, the people will come and make you resign. But here, a person steals and we say we know he is a thief, but he is our thief. How can a country grow? A friend of mine once told me that when you blame the windmill, you must also blame the wind. The leaders are the windmill, we are the wind. If we choose to swim in the sea of ignorance, then we can only discover islands of corruption. But if we choose to swim in the seas of meritocracy, then we can discover islands of hope. The choice is ours. For the moment, we have chosen to drink from the poisoned chalice of ethnicity and corruption, and we are reaping the dividends, bitter fruits.